The narrative being sold today is a seductive one. It frames our entire human experience as a binary war between two competing desires, the right's demand for homogeny and the left's demand for diversity. It tells us that one side initiates harm and the other merely responds, that one side seeks order and the other seeks existence. But this framing is missing the most crucial aspect of the entire organism, the body. By focusing entirely on the friction between the wings, left, right, liberal, conservative, we have forgotten the core, we the people. We have been conditioned to believe that we must choose a wing to survive, ignoring the fact that both wings are attached to the same vessel. And that vessel is currently being steered into a storm by the very conflict we are being told is necessary. And that's not to diminish the fact that we do need to stand up against this fascist regime with everything that we got. We do not need to normalize what is happening, and we do not need to become apathetic, because those are all symptoms of losing our humanity. And I want that to be a highlight point for all of you listening right now. I have had a very interesting Saturday. Let me just say that to you. So, the illusion of choice. The argument suggests that the only options are a strict social hierarchy or a curated moral template. But for the people in the middle, that is, people like me, the independents, the libertarians, and the millions who refuse to be drafted into this culture war, both options look like different flavors of the same coercion. And I'm not going to reduce this down to, oh, it's both sides. Trust me, I know it's more than the simplistic ways that people want to sum it down to. But we need to look at all of this. One side demands that you assimilate to a tradition that you didn't choose. The other demands that you validate a set of ever-shifting social labels perhaps you didn't agree to. But sides have moved away from the fundamental basis of a free society. The right to be left the hell alone. They have replaced individual liberty with collective identity. And it is important to know that individualism can be a problem when we're looking at community support. But if we degrade the importance of individual liberty, we therefore erode the basis for group independence entirely. And that is really important to think about when it comes to how America was founded and the way that it was intended to be ran. So you have this situation where you're forcing every human being into a box so they can be counted as a soldier for one side or a target for the other. So you're dehumanizing each other. And think about that. This is your fellow American. This is people of your own neighborhoods and communities, your own country, and you're trying to make them the other, like they're the foreigner, like they're the unknown anomaly. That is not right. This causes a huge, huge, huge problem. The narrative claims that the cemetery of oppression is a lie, but it ignores the cemetery of distraction. While the wings argue over who is the aggressor and who is the defender, the body, that is the actual people, are the ones who are paying the price. We are told that resistance is treated like the problem, but in reality, the entire conflict is a manufactured state of emergency designed to keep the core from realizing its own power. See, if they can get you to see that you don't have autonomy or agency or remove your right to it, then you then become a pawn. You are just an owned piece of property, another person owned by this government. Where is your independence? Where is your freedom? Where are your Bill of Rights, the core things that are supposed to make you an American able to exercise in this country? So when we focus on homogeny versus diversity, we stop asking questions about agency. Why is the state involved in our moral templates at all? Stability. Why is our shared infrastructure and economic reality crumbling while we debate the semantics of inclusion and order? And humanity. Why have we stopped seeing people as individuals and started seeing them as manifestations of instability or pawns of an agenda? The core is the people. The both sides narrative isn't insane because the sides are equal. It's insane because it assumes that the sides are all that there is. It erases the millions of us who are stuck in the middle, watching jokers on the left and clowns on the right. Nod to a great song, Stuck in the Middle with You. To a play of a game of tug of war with our lives. It paints dominance as neutral, but it also paints ideological compliance as progress. The true coexistence isn't found in one side winning or the other side refusing to disappear. True coexistence is the withdrawal from the war entirely. It is a recognition that the extra shit, the levels of legislation of identity, the policing of thought, and the demand for constant validation is a layer of noise intended to deafen us from our common interests. The pattern isn't just harm, resistance, reframing. The pattern is divide, distract, dominate. Divide and conquer. This is very old, my friends. As long as the wings are locked in a death spiral, the body cannot fly. We are told that one side wants control and the other one wants freedom, but both are increasingly using the same tools of censorship, surveillance, and social shaming in order to achieve their goals. We're actually witnessing here not just a fight for existence, it is a slow suffocation of the individual by the ideologue. It is time to stop looking at the wings and start looking at the heart, because without the body, the wings have nothing to carry, and right now they are carrying us toward a cliff. It's interesting to talk about this today because I've had a very interesting week. It started with a nosy Karen neighbor who thought that she had the right to come and accost me at my door where I live to ask me about my adult daughter's vehicle having a spare tire on it, which has since been replaced. You know, these things happen. And again, of course, it was on the weekend on a Sunday, so she wasn't able to get it fixed till the next day. Anyways, this neighbor that I've never had any kind of interactions, I do not have a rapport with at all. I opened my door and I was actually leaving. I was about to leave and go somewhere and come back. I opened my door to this woman hunched over with a fist up like she was about to knock, but she hadn't knocked yet because I opened the door as she was coming to it knock. And she shrinked back and she's all, "Oh, I'm sorry to bother you." And I shut my front door behind me and then I close the screen door after that to make it very clear from my actions that whatever is beyond in my household, in my apartment, meeting me on my porch like this when I wasn't expecting you, was none of your business, to make a very clear boundary there. And this woman proceeds to, she says to me in the most serpentine, I swear it was like the devil at the door himself, way ever. The tone was just so, just manipulative as can be. You know what I'm saying? She says to me, "I couldn't help but notice that car out there, it's got a boot on it," which it doesn't even have a boot on it by what a boot technically is. A boot is one of those devices that they put on your tire that locks you in place where you cannot move the car. It was actually a donut spare tire. But this is what she says to me, and I'm busy because I'm leaving, and you can see that I'm hurried and I'm leaving. And I said, "It's not my car, it's my daughter's, and we got it under control. Thank you." And then I turned to walk away. And this woman starts belligerently screaming at me, "Oh my God, young lady! Oh my God, young lady!" So, Karen, clutch your pearls. And I did not even say anything wrong to her. I simply said, as I was leaving, "We got it. Thank you." So she screams at me. I walk maybe 6 or 7 feet from her before I turn around on the second time that she's screaming, and I look at her and I said, "I'm not a young lady. I'm a grown adult woman. I'm not sure why you thought it was appropriate to come to my door to ask me about my cars. It's none of your business." And she says, "I just wanted to talk to your daughter." To which I replied, "You don't need to talk to my daughter. I just told you that we had it under control. Thank you." And then I leave. Well, 30 minutes or so goes by. I go do my errand. I come back and I find that, and I live in apartments, that this woman has been watching like a hawk from her apartment window. And she throws the window up and she screams out at me, "Excuse me," as loud as she can. At this point, I wave her off and I say loudly, "Stop harassing me. I don't want to talk to you." Okay, that's how it started. And it just continued to go worse and worse through the week. Same day with that happening, this person reached out to me with a pitch and they wanted to talk about some things that I found a little bit eyebrow raising. I read their pitch and I did not respond because after looking at their pitch, I did not feel that it aligned. But more than that, my discernment kind of pinged on it. And there was something about the energy I didn't quite like. And so I decided, I'm just going to delete this email and just no response is a response for everyone out there. No response is a response. Now, I'm not going to say that circling back and follow-ups aren't sometimes useful depending on the context. But when you're cold contacting someone, if they don't respond to you, there's a little bit of chance that maybe they were busy, but most likely they don't want to contact you. They didn't respond because that's their response. There is nothing to say. Most people would take that, as it is. They would, well, this person decided that they were going to follow up and even say, I'm circling back because I know that you people get busy and all these things. And maybe you didn't see what I had to say, to deliver me the same pitch. Only they changed their subject line this time. And the first time it was a little bit, I didn't like it. It was what Christians get wrong about AI. That's not a topic I want to talk about here on the Mind of Cy Marie. If that's something that you're interested in, I would recommend that you do your own soul searching and figure that out, research, and discover for your own self with your own discernment and spiritual awareness where that might lead you. Okay? That's not something that I want to promote on here. So next to that is on the second one, it was said something like, your audience is already using AI for all this. And I thought that was very telling. I don't know that this person did their research on me very well, because if they had, they would have been able to know that everything they had pitched me with what I'm doing here with the Mind of Cy Marie and everything clashes with the entirety of my activism, advocacy, and the brand that I built. And so I don't know why people would come barking up a tree that is not suited for them. But the Mind of Cy Marie here, I don't think many people seem to be understanding fully what my intentions are. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. I am an author, a screenwriter, a creative lead on 3 podcasts. This one here, The Mind of Cy Marie, and Histories of Horror, and Around the Table with the AOTR, which stands for the Authors of the Resistance, of which I am one of the main people. I am the founder alongside my co-host on the podcast, Beverly L. Anderson, and then Histories of Horror, which I'm co-host with author A.L. Knuckles on that one on. Now, all these things that I do, they all have different interests, but the Mind of Cy Marie is kind of a diversity variety show, and I talk about a lot of things, from your mindset, which is the most obvious one, or it should be, to self-help, motivation, inspiration, because my purpose is to educate, entertain, and inspire. That is what I am here to do, and to, elevate important causes, to be a voice for those who have none. So being a voice for the voiceless is a very important aspect of what I do. I do not want to lead any of my audience to thinking that when they have grief, sadness, or pain, that they should turn to an AI for any kind of support. I know that these tools exist for many people. They can be helpful, but they are also causing serious mental duress. And I feel that it is important that we remind ourselves that there are experts in fields that have been leading these fields for generations, long before the AI advent came. There is the Bible. So if you are someone who is seeking a path after the Messiah, I would recommend that you pick up a Bible. This is the first place to do that. If you want to actually find healing path and journey, you need to become a person who recognizes their own power, your agency, and your autonomy. You need to understand that you are not disempowered just because you are going through grief. It is okay to cry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel anxious, fear, stress. What's not okay is to stay in them and to give up your soul and your humanity in the effort to find a way to relieve that pain. You see, the gateway drug to addiction is not actually any one specific drug. It is actually that feeling of trauma and grief being so overwhelming that a person does not know how to escape it, so they begin to self-medicate in order to cope with the grief and pain. Telling someone that they need to go seek out a digital tool to help them with their spiritual path, in that, I feel, is a disservice at the very least, and at the worst, it is the work of the mark of the beast and anti-Christian behavior. It's not something that I want to promote. It is not something that I welcome at the table. It is not something that I am going to allow to take root in my mind. And that is very important when it comes to scripture and what we're discussing right now, because this is a battle for your mind. Your soul, the thing that is inside of you that gives you essence of life, cannot be replicated. It cannot be cloned. Now, your physical body can be, so think about that. What makes you yourself isn't just your genetics and the DNA of your flesh suit. It is the components of your spirit and your intellect and mind. In your mind, you need to do everything you can to forge for yourself a very, very strong mental block against anyone that's going to come in to try to position things as seeds in your mind to grow a path that doesn't resonate with what your spirit is meant to do. And if you know that and someone keeps intentionally coming to you, trying to push their way in, trying to do everything they can to get that opportunity to sit at your table despite already having quite a bit going for themselves, you need to ask yourself why that is. What is it about sitting at your table and being on your show that they feel might be helpful to them? And that's where it is. It's planting those seeds. And so by bringing different people on and allowing them to have a platform or be promoted, in this way, we are encouraging our listeners to find out more about those people, their methods, their books, their podcasts, their products, and who they are. So no, we won't be having anybody come on here that claims to be a person that has faith or conviction in God, who wants to try to divert the littlest of these to relying on a machine when we have had all of these spiritual tools available to us if we only utilize them for thousands of years. And there are many spiritualists who are talking about these things right now. People that read tarot, do runes, anyone who has any kind of real mirth when it comes to spiritual knowledge and wisdom is going to tell you that artificial intelligence cannot fulfill that goal. It is not unlike an idol that you are worshiping when you engage in it in that way and you rely on it for spiritual help instead of being fervent in prayer, seeking the word of God for yourself, developing a relationship with Yahuwah, and learning about Shakma. And so I really wanted to say today that I am very intentional about who comes on the Mind of Sai Marie. I'm very intentional about what we discuss on the Mind of Sai Marie because I am Sai Marie and this is my mind. This is my brain. So if people want to use me as a way to get themselves out to the audience that is interested and has been, brought towards my content because of my intellect and my brain, my mind, who wants to learn more about the Mind of Sai Marie, it's got to be something that resonates with the core goal of what I'm trying to do here. And I will not, under any circumstances, elevate any kind of content that I feel is going to mislead people. I talk about a lot of different things spiritually. I compare things. I do a lot of this and that comparison on the devil's advocate side for the sake of argument. I look at multiple perspectives and points of view with everything I do before I write anything, before I tackle any subject, and before I allow anyone to guest on my show. The same thing applies to the shows that I choose to go on. I do not want people to ever think that the Mind of Sai Marie is a shoo-in to being able to influence people in a way that I feel will be negative to their humanity. Because overall, at the end of the day, I'm a humanitarian advocate. I am activated by the things I see. I care about humanity. I do follow the convictions of Yahuwah and Shakma. I am a Yahoo Gnostic, and I do not feel that I want to have any sort of responsibility or obligation to leading people in a way that will be spiritually blinding them. So that is what I had to come on here today to tell you guys, is it's very important that with all of these things going on, we pay a lot of attention to not just left, right, red, blue. We need to look at all of the picture. And there's a lot more colors than red and blue. And personally, if red and blue was all there was, I'd find it a little boring. Just saying. I am a purple fan, so I can see value from everything. That is the royal color, too. So I hope that you guys have a safe and happy Saturday, and that your January has gone as best as possible, that your February comes in with great news. Let's hope the groundhog doesn't see a shadow. We get an early spring, because I know many of you have been under this winter ice fern storm that's just been crazy in the south. And we are coming. We are halfway through winter. It's almost here. Spring is coming, and let's find some reasons to smile and bring some good cheer into our lives. Until next time, this has been an episode of The Mind of Cy Marie. Remember, the mind is the most important story that we'll ever tell.